I'm going to talk today about self-determination, which is a concept that's really very important for people with disabilities and something that's important for all people, really. And I thought what I'd start with is kind of a quote to put in context and get everyone thinking about what this could really mean that I really like, that's informed a lot of the work in the disability field. And that's, if students floated in life jackets for 12 years, and then all of a sudden we jerk those jackets away, would we expect them to swim? And so the question really becomes, historically, we've had a model to thinking about kids with disabilities that puts all of the control and the power in the hands of others versus the people themselves. And so our goal in promoting self-determination is to make people with disabilities the causal agent over their life, or that person that has the skills, the opportunities, and the supports to really be the person that's driving their lives. So we think about self-determination as the notion of being a causal agent over your life, the person that makes things happen. It's acting volitionally. It's taking and initiating actions to go after the things you want. It's acting in an agentic fashion or having a pathway to get from point A to point B. So being able to identify what you want out of life, developing a plan and going after that plan. And another key piece of it really is having these action control beliefs, or if I engage in a certain action, that's going to lead to the outcome that we want. And that really means that the environment has to be supportive of self-determination. So when we think about how to enable people with disabilities to be self-determining, it's all about teaching skills associated with self-determination, providing capacity development opportunities for goal setting, problem solving, choice making. It's about creating opportunities in the environment, so making sure school environments, community environments are supportive of people making those choices and decisions, and also that we have the right supports in place to enable that to happen. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the work that we can actually do to promote self-determination. We've engaged in a number of research studies that really document that students with intellectual and developmental disabilities can learn the skills associated with self-determination, and that results in enhanced self-determination as well as enhanced life outcomes. For example, we recently had a large project where we intervened with a number of different schools across the country and worked with teachers to get them to shift their instruction from being teacher-directed to being student-directed. It sounds like common sense oftentimes, but the notion of taking the idea out of the hands of teachers setting goals for students to students setting goals for themselves. Even if those goals are incredibly similar, the power of setting a goal for yourself and being supported in the process of understanding why you're doing the things you're doing can have a very positive impact. So what we work on doing is enabling teachers in the education context. We're also using these approaches in the employment context with people that are providing job development and job seeking opportunities, and increasingly even thinking about expanding these notions to the health context and health professionals to really shift that focus from individuals or other people setting the goals for people with disabilities to really enable people with disabilities to do that themselves. And so what that means is building up a process where people have to understand what goals they want to be working on. And a key part of that is having experiences and opportunities to explore different things, to figure out what you like, what you don't like, to really understand what that looks like for you. Then it's setting a goal. And then it's figuring out how to go after that goal. So for any of us, we set a goal related to something, we're going to have to take some steps to work towards that goal. And so it's building that plan. Some of that can be different self-monitoring, self-management strategies. So for example, if I want to set a goal related to learning something new, I'm going to have to figure out where to get access to that information and go through a series of steps to do that. Then we have to go to a phase of evaluating whether or not we've actually achieved our goal. And sometimes it's okay not to achieve a goal. All of us have had times when we've set a goal for ourselves and haven't been able to achieve that. So if we're able to then look at, well, was my goal the wrong goal? Do I need to revise my goal? Maybe I need to go a step earlier in the process. If I'm looking towards a job, but I hadn't researched what some of the prerequisites or the training requirements for that were, maybe I need to think a little bit differently about what goals and what skills I'm trying to build up. Or maybe it wasn't the goal. Maybe it was the right goal and that's really something aligned with your choices and your preferences and works for you. But maybe the plan that I had for how to achieve my goal was something that needs to be reworked. So that's this three-stage process of setting a goal, developing an action plan, and then evaluating progress on that goal. That's a key part of promoting self-determination and giving people those opportunities to use those skills. It's also, we're going to continue to cycle through that process. Eventually, we're going to achieve a goal. Then we're going to move on to the next goal. And in doing this, you become empowered and you realize that doing the things that get you from point A to point B are going to give you the outcomes that you want. So in implementing this model, in the school context, for example, we found that students with disabilities make significantly higher progress when they're operating under this model, when they're provided supports and opportunities from teachers to do this on achieving their goals. This is even in the academic context where students may be unmotivated sometimes at some of the things they may be doing in classrooms. But when they're setting the goals, we tend to see significant changes in how they're thinking about going after this process. For example, we've worked in some classrooms and with some teachers where they're having a very hard time getting students to engage with material and content, but then they're still working on the same things, but all of a sudden the students are setting goals and they're excited and energized by doing this. And leading to better outcomes in attaining those goals. So it tells us how important these activities are. We've also tracked students that have had instruction in learning self-determination skills while they're in school and then followed them for up to 2 years after they've left school to ask the question of, we know we can promote self-determination while you're in school, and that's a very important objective, but what does that mean for what's going on in adult life? And we tend to find that those students that leave school with higher levels of self-determination, with more ability to do these things and participate and act as causal agents in their lives, that actually leads to better outcomes in adulthood, increased rates of employment, increased satisfaction with jobs, access to benefits, other pieces. That really it's not just a matter of having a job, it's of having a job that you like, that you've been able to set goals around and have opportunities in. And then there's also better access to the community, ability to navigate around the community, and some of this probably relates to the ability to navigate challenges and barriers that come up. And so a lot of this, it's both building the opportunities for students to learn these skills and apply them in their lives, but then that other piece is changing the attitudes of others, that students with intellectual disabilities, they're going to struggle to do these things. We have to take care of and tell them what their goals are. But instead, with the right supports, we can really make this happen. So promoting self-determination is definitely something that has high value in that school context and in moving into the adult world. Then these activities related to being the person that's in charge of your life are going to continue to carry over. As I mentioned, thinking about this in the context of employment and finding a job and making progress on your job. The same principles of setting a goal, developing a plan for that goal, going after that goal apply to thinking through that process. It's the same thing related to health. All of us, I'm sure, have set goals related to, I want to lose weight, I want to exercise more, I want to do whatever this is. And we go through this sequence. And so supporting people with intellectual disability to be able to go through that sequence as well, to learn what that looks like, and to really build up the supports around them that enable that to drive the process is very important. So self-determination is all about being a causal agent, being the person that makes things happen in your life, having opportunities throughout all areas of your life, education, living in the community, to be the person that's directing that process. And it really is all about teaching these activities that we all learn and pick up over time, but providing the supports that enable that to be meaningful for people with intellectual disability, creating opportunities or responsive context and environments that allow that to happen, and then also building up that system of support and having the system of support from the individual to the family to the community, and then the service systems and policies as well that are really respective of and facilitating self-determination and causal agency.